good evening. Welcome to this edition of the Evening Review. My name is Jemima Beatrice, your host this evening. We have in studio this evening Joyce Muzengua. She's the head of the Human Rights Desk at the Landless People's Movement. Now, the LPM is also the lead litigator in the case against the Namibian government with regards to the controversial joint declaration from Germany for reparations for the Nama and Ovaherero genocide. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Joyce, can you please give us a brief overview of the current status of the lawsuit between the LPM, traditional authorities against the Namibian government?
Yes, well, the case is past case management. We will have a status hearing on the 16th of September. And of course, the lawyers are still in the process of the documents exchanged. There are a few documents that we still require from the government that we are waiting for. And then as soon as those documents are handed to us, of course, then we will wait for the case date. But however, the case is still in its very, on the very primary levels of it. However, we as the litigants believe that we have a very, very strong case against the government, of course, on the matters that we have shared publicly before, that the case is basically based on substantive and procedural law, the main litigating points amongst others. And so we believe that we have put up a very, very good case. And we, of course, appreciate our legal team for the exceptional job that they have done so far. And we are really just excited on the outcome and what will transpire in the process, because the Namibian jurisprudence is very small. It is very small, and it has not necessarily been stretched for us to find proper loopholes and everything that needs to be interpreted within the law. So this will be definitely a stretch for the Namibian jurisprudence, and we are really excited about the way forward.
Now, Joyce, you also have the head of activists, you being a descendant of the Ovaherero people that that perished in the genocide.
Right.
Now, one of the issues that has also come out recently is the damage to Shark Island. That was the concentration camp during the genocide in Lutritz.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that potential damage there?
From our perspective, we look at Shark Island through a grave lens. That is a mass grave. And really, of course, we are not surprised by the Namibian government seeing our pain. When you look at Shark Island, it's basically a memorialization of the events that transpired there. But given that when the Namibian government does not take memorialism of the genocide seriously, of course the area, NWR used it as a camping site. And now it will be used for business. And now the Namibian government, of course, did not necessarily give any, it paid lip service when it comes to its sympathizing with the genocide descendants. It is not necessarily a focal point or something that is prioritized and something that is revered and something that is respected to that nature. We know very well that the Namibian government, NID, and all these other important stakeholders will not look at it from the perspective of it being a genocide memorial site, because they would, of course, consider business first. Yes. And so we look at it, we see it as a gravesite. The bones of the Hereros and the Namas are still on the seafloor as we speak today. And the Namibian government has not done anything to that. And of course, it is something that even if we have to litigate, we will litigate to say that area there needs to be respected. Which one is it going to be? Is it going to be business with hyphen, of which we see so many irregularities already in its implementation and all that? And so is it going to be that, or are you going to respect the memory of the Herero people in regards to their ancestors whose bones still lie on the seafloor? So when it comes to the Namibian government, really, we are not, and it is something that we condemn vehemently, to the extent that it deserves, because why is it that everything that has to do with these two communities is disregarded, even the very pain that they suffer? You know, and also I do not necessarily, it's a misfortunate fate that the Hereros and the Namas of this country will have to suffer. Because the areas that are our ancestral land, we found ourselves on the prime land of Namibia, be it historically or contemporarily. The South is the economy. We know that the energy sector and the mining sector are part of the biggest contributors to the current economy. And we unfortunately find ourselves on the lands that are the economic hub of the country. And so we have to suffer injustice after injustice, be it from the colonial times or from the colonial context in the contemporary context. Whatever government that comes is going to prioritize those areas. The central areas of Namibia that are inhabited by the Herero, the Damara, and the San communities, from the historical context to now, that is the prime agricultural land. And that was taken from them, and that the government is still slagging to give it to them, be it through the resettlement program or whatever it is, whether it is communal lands or what. Those are still the prime lands. And so agriculturally, economically, whoever is ruling the government will target those areas. So the heritage sites and the sacred sites of those communities are probably subject to be disregarded and not given the respect that those sites deserve, because those are the economic hubs. And the current government really has not cared about the genocide. They only got involved when the question of reparations was mentioned. They lied to the people that it's reparations, while it's just projects that they are basically negotiating for monetary gains, amongst others. So the Namas and the Hereros seem to have a unfortunate fate that will haunt them for the rest of their lives.
When you were talking about Hyphen and the Shark Island, you mentioned some irregularities are already coming up. Can you share?
No, for instance, when we speak on to the, of course, I'm still reading into the matter. I'm not yet well versed in that matter, but for one, what I can say is that LPM is the governing party there. From the beginning and the inception of this thing, we have been excluded. We had to put up a fight, have meetings with the head of state for us to be involved, to say, but we are governing there and we are likely to continue to govern there. And whatever it is that is going to happen on those in the south. Yes. Or at which part of for instance, where part of the sites that they have identified for the windmills to be placed where they will be using the wind energy is also a sacred area to the Nama people, where one of the battles against the Germans by Hendrik Witbooi was waged. And so we are governing that area. And therefore, how is it that every conference on hydrogen was being held in Windhoek and none of it was held in the south? Scholarships were given. Right, we're given three sets of scholarships, if my memory serves me right. But none of the students from the south, or that are even schooling there, benefited from these scholarships. Whatever projects, the pilot programs, for instance, we did not see companies from the south or pilot projects being done that will basically benefit the people there. And this has been an ongoing issue for a very long time, where you see that resources or mineral resources are found at a place, but the natives of that area are excluded already, and that is just the surface of it. Mm-hmm. That is just the surface of it.
Joyce, what do you make of, what is your view on Germany's involvement in the green hydrogen project at Shark Island, given that they have not yet paid reparations?
You see, for Germany, the reparations of the Herero and the Nama people is not priority. We are living in a contemporary state where colonialism has transcended from direct to, of course, what Kwame Nkrumah described as neocolonialism. The Germans are the ones that identified that area in Namibia for them to efficiently run the green hydrogen project. And so for Germany, why should we pay reparations to the Namibians if we have invested so much, and also if we continue to invest this much? And for them, they see this as they want us to see it as them plowing back productively and plowing back into our economy.
But are they investing?
No, they are not. Because I think the question, Jemima, that we should ask is, why is Germany here in the first place? Why are they here? All these investments that they have made in Namibia, why are they here? The Germans are here because of a historical tie. And this historical tie is not with Namibia. This historical tie lies primarily with these very communities that are demanding for reparations. But they come here, and whatever it is that they invest does not benefit these people. And so for Germany, Namibia continues to be an economically enhancing project to both the German state, to primarily the German state, and a few coins and change here to the Namibian people, just so that they honor what they term their moral responsibility towards Namibia, given their historical ties. So they do not necessarily, it's not for the Namibians, it's not for instance, one of the issues, Jemima, that I see with the implementation of the green hydrogen project is that 2026 is too soon for the implementation of that project, because because this is going to equate to us importing skills from elsewhere, and the Namibian populace will be subjected to doing cheap labor because we do not have the expertise nor the experience in the green hydrogen sector. So the implementation of it is just it's just way too soon. If it's going to be a successful project, one, it should not be done on Shark Island. And the Namibian government has the obligation to protect Shark Island at all costs. And of course, that is if the genocide history and its memorialism matters to them. Two, we don't even have a law that is going to govern green hydrogen yet. Like we have the laws on all our minerals and how they should be mined and how they should be converted. The green hydrogen is the first of its kind. There's no precedence in Namibia. So we need to take time, and we need to capacitate Namibians so that they are able to participate or be active in this sector equally, so that we don't have to import skills from outside and all that. Of course, then we will be facing a lot of problems, such as a migration of people from other countries to come looking for jobs, given our small economy. We do not know what this is. It is the first of its kind. We are not ready. We are not. The implications that we are already seeing before it is even implemented are a little bit too much for me, for the country to handle. So I wonder what it is that we are getting into. Are we sure what it is? What are we looking into? And
on that note, we're going for a short break.
Sure.
We'll be back right now.
Irongomed is a leading distributor working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irongomed is committed to making a difference. What about you?
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toyvon Jabela featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. The agenda aims to reach high-end news consumers seeking informed understanding of national issues. This show is broadcasted on NTV, Oneuptwo.com, and the Namibia Media Holdings Facebook platform. The agenda focuses on interviews where we put the nation in the hot seat. Contact Agenda at synergy.com.na to get your product and service in the hot seat. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
Welcome back. Now, if you've just joined us, we have in studio Joyce Muzengua. She's the head of the Human Rights Desk at the Landless People's Movement. We are talking about the ongoing case between the Namibian government and the Landless People's Movement over the controversial joint declaration. Now, before we went on a break, we were talking about the Shark Island, keeping that memory alive. Joyce, what do you think is the role that the young people in Namibia, especially descendants, should play in advocating for justice, reparations, and especially the return of skulls from Germany?
The role of the youth, Jemima, is a pivotal one, because one of the things that are concerning at the moment is that the youth is not really involved much. We don't have a significant population of the youth that are involved in the activism for reparations, social justice, ancestral land, or the question of land in general, and all these important matters pertaining to their lives. And so that is why the youth right now, we are the ones that are going to live the consequences of what the current government and the all-stars that are running it, the decisions that they are making now. And so the role of the youth, therefore, even I, as a youth as a descendant of these affected communities, and as a youth, our role is to advocate and to educate the general populace of Namibia more. We need to educate the people. We need to sensitize the people of the sensitivity, so that the next generation that comes and takes over government will look at the question of genocide from a much more sensitive, and will have a much more sensitive approach, and that proper education on the question will be implemented in schools, so that we can the children from a very young age can know and respect that question. The youth plays an important role, and they must know and understand the question of genocide, the question of reparations. They need to know this because they are the largest population. I don't know what we are going to do if the youth is not well educated. You will have people that will come, and a place, for instance, where the genocide can happen again because people do not know what it is and how it is prevented. These are things that must be taught to the youth on a daily basis. It needs to be in their faces so that they can know and review. So we prevent it from happening again, so that we can also bolster advocacy for reparations as it is going to benefit the whole country, not just the affected communities.
Now, in conclusion, Joyce, can you just share with us what, in your view, should be the steps for activists, descendants like yourself, in the fight for reparations and the return of artifacts from Germany?
The artifacts from Germany play a crucial role. We need those artifacts to be returned. But then, for instance, I would like to, of course, give thanks to the Secretary General of NUDO for his motion in Parliament that was unanimously adopted on the Genocide Memorial or Genocide Museum.
Yes.
Because upon the return of these artifacts, where will they be kept? As far as I'm concerned, the National Museum there has a very small corner. I know it's in a corner on the history of the National War of Resistance. Very, very, very limited space there. So if we are to have a genocide museum, and a law that is going to govern these things. It's very, very important. That is going to then help us to get to return as many artifacts. You know, I cannot fathom, especially from a traditional perspective, I cannot fathom having somebody's skull on display. It's quite peculiar from a traditional point of view. It must be buried. Let us rather have the skulls back. Let us bury the skulls, and then at an area that will be turned into a shrine where people can come. And I mean, the Hero tradition, for instance, we talk to our ancestors. We go to God through our ancestors. And so seeing my ancestors that were brutally killed and beheaded being displayed in a museum, it's very, very insensitive especially to the tradition. So the Namibian government must implement the Genocide Museum ASAP so that we can further intensify the campaign of returning these artifacts, the human remains and whatever it is. You have, for instance, part of the very important artifacts is the belt that Kaime Mwanguvova the first used to wear. And the Mbandero community sees it as very, very sacred because he was shot 14 times, and the 14th bullet is the one that killed him. He played a very spiritual role in the community, and he was a very, very spiritual man. And so his death basically showed some sort of bravery, and it displayed the strength of the spirituality of the heroes as far as the connection to their ancestors is concerned. And so that belt, for instance, signifies something really great and supernatural to the Mbandero community, also as far as the heroes are concerned. So those type of artifacts, they want to have them back so that the kids, generations to come, can see and say, one of our spiritual leaders in the community, Kahima Mwanguvova, wore this belt, and this is what it signifies. But the Genocide Memorial needs to happen. Or the Genocide Museum, or we have the shrine, for instance, in the Hosea Kutako shrine that was built in Aminus. I don't know what this government is going to do, but they need to officiate that thing. It must be officiated with the relevant traditional faction. The Aminos community deemed it to be Professor Kashiwa. So the government needs to officiate that thing now so that we can get this so that we can intensify that campaign. We need these artifacts and these human remains to be returned and ASAP.
Thank you for joining us and sharing your info with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.